Babes Behind the Beats with Jess Bowen and Bowie Jane.
All right, what's up, everybody? It is Jess Bowen and Bowie Jane here on Babes Behind the Beats. I'm so excited because we have a friend of mine, LOLO, who is finally doing our show.
Yay! Yay! Thank you for having me.
Oh my God,
long time coming.
I know. I should have asked you while you were out here in LA, but now we're doing virtual, which is fine. It's my own fault.
I'll be back. Yeah.
I was just telling LOLO I don't like asking friends to do things.
Yeah, it's difficult when you know people. You're like, oh, I don't want to push the boundaries.
Because we've known each other for a while now, but I just like, that's the thing of being like, I don't want to ask my friend to do this one thing. Is it?
Because haven't you guys played together?
Oh,
yes.
Well,
Jess was in my music video once, but we've gone on tours together. She's never been actually my drummer. I wish she was.
Well, I mean, say less. Let's we can talk after that. No. But no, that is actually Bowie. That's how originally the first time I met LOLO I was in your Junkie music video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, Jaden from With Confidence, Australian friend of mine as well.
There you go.
Yeah. So and your music director Ben at the time reached out and they were just like, yeah, I personally, like, obviously we had never met before, and then I looked you up and I was like, we have so many mutual friends. So I just like remember showing up on set, you were getting your makeup done and stuff, and I just did the awkward like walk up of like, hey, by the way, we have mutual friends, just like to like break the ice of like, I hope it's not weird, you know what I mean? Like you're like, I'm not just like your drummer in your music video, I also like know the same people as you, but I don't know.
And she's still like, I don't care.
No, Lolo was like, what? I don't care. I'm getting my makeup done. Go away. No, I'm kidding.
No, not at all. I was so happy to have you. Because I had heard of you, obviously, and seen you around. But then I was like, oh, this is sick. Yeah. She's my video. I'm so cool.
And we officially met. Yeah, that was the first time. And then, we did a tour together in October with Boys Like Girls. Not only did we do the tour together, we shared a bus.
Oh,
yeah,
we
were close.
We were roomies. On the bus. Was that your first, by the way, bus experience or no?
It wasn't. It was my first bus experience in the US, but I had done a bus in UK, like the double-decker one.
Okay.
So it's actually funny. Like when I first got on, I was like to Dan, I was like, where's the upstairs? And he's like, it's like, they're not usually like that. This is normal. And I was like, oh, okay, got it.
Be honest, how was your experience with us? Are we okay roommates? Put her on the spot. But yeah,
I'm just kidding. No, you guys were great. Oh my God, let me tell you, I don't want to name names, but I've had a bad roommates. My band will know what I'm talking about. But you guys were angels compared to but also you were angels regardless. It wasn't even like compared to other people. Like you guys were fine. Like I feel like it's so funny because I remember like your manager or someone said to Dan, like, none of them drink and like they're not drinking, and they really stressed us out. We were like, oh my God, like, should we get the alcohol off the bus? Like, are they gonna be triggered? We're like Canadians trying to be respectful, whatever. You guys get there, you're like fucking raging on the bus. We're like, okay, something got lost in translation because like you guys are like we thought we were gonna be too insane for you, but then you guys ended up being the crazier band.
That still party.
Did you know that?
So I think I remember because we've had the same experience with other people before where it was like, oh, like when you share with some people, you're like, we had a kind of like a bad experience once. So we didn't go in saying that none of us drink, but our singer Brian is sober.
Yeah.
And so I think that most of us were like, oh, we should maybe just try to be like, oh, let's just make sure that like we're not bringing a bunch of people back on the bus. Maybe we just try to set like that boundary right off the bat. I didn't realize that someone went to you and straight up said that we were all sober. I mean, you saw me on that tour. Like I was.
You weren't sober, that's for sure.
Like
say the least.
She did 1 month sober in January. That was it. In her whole life.
But that's hilarious that was what the preface was.
And just to explain for our listeners who might not understand, this is basically two bands who are sharing a bus to split the cost, right?
Yeah, because for us, we were only on like the last half. LOLO was on the whole tour. And we were only on the last half of it. And for us, we were just like, obviously everyone wants to budget on tours. It's hard to make money on tour. Everyone knows that these days. There's so much that expenses and all that shit, the cuts that get taken out. So it was for us, it just felt like because we were only on the last half to make sense to share. and luckily
Yeah.
Lolo's team was down to do that. So you guys got on the bus first. Actually, you had the bus for the first.
Yeah,
half that
at
you were on
first
it.
that was like luxury at its finest. It was like a full bus, and we only had like 6 of us. So we were
That's
like, "Oh
amazing.
my God, this is like insane." I had like I had the entire closet for I had all of my clothes out, all of my shoes. I was like, I could get used to this.
Totally.
But yeah,
Well,
And
I have
then
to
we,
share
and
with
then
you
we
guys.
ruined it. And then we came, and then we came
Yeah.
in and ruined it.
You're like, I like the middle bunk.
Yeah. Well, I think no, we split the middle bunks evenly.
Yeah, I think
Like
you guys
my
took,
band had half the middle bunks and your band had half the middle bunks.
right. Yeah, we made sure to be really like all of us were very fair about
Well,
like
you
if we're sharing a
Yeah.
bus.
Experience too.
Yeah, and so it was a good experience. We all really got along, and
Yeah, we really did. Yeah.
it was really really fun. But yeah. So I mean, I guess let's just get back. Let's go into. We like to get to know our guests. For people that may not already know you, so we kind of want to just go back to a very simple, basic question. But it's like, how and when did you get into music, or know that you loved and wanted to do this for your career?
Yeah. So from a young age, I always loved music, but I would say my first love was like theater. Like my goal was to be on Broadway. I was like a theater kid. I was exposed to like those. My grandfather used to play those really old Shirley Temple videos.
Ah.
And I have like naturally really curly hair, exactly like yours actually, but it was really short. So I literally like looked like Shirley Temple. I wanted to be her. I told my mom to put me in tap dancing classes, acting classes, singing classes. So I was like doing the whole thing. But at the same time, I also had like an Avril Lavigne CD, a Green Day CD, like, and I was like wearing a wife beater and a tie to school, like, and making like trying to be that. But like, I think in my head, I was like, well, this isn't attainable. Like, I could never be Billie Joe Armstrong. I could never be Avril Lavigne. Like that just wouldn't happen. So I'm gonna like, I was doing my school plays all the time, and I was like, I'm gonna do this. And it wasn't until the beginning of high school that I like picked up a guitar and started writing songs. And my guitar teacher was like, "You should try writing songs." And I was like,
That's pretty cool.
No.
They said that.
I was like, that's not happening. I'm not writing a song. That's so embarrassing. Like, I don't want people knowing my thoughts. Like, I didn't think it was embarrassing to write songs, but I was just embarrassed to let people in.
Yeah, you didn't want to
And
be vulnerable in that way. Like,
Yeah, I was like, I was just not about that. And then I remember he said to me, he's like, if you don't write a song, if you don't even try writing a song, I'm not coming back to teach you guitar. And I was like,
Oh
my
my
God.
God.
Shit.
what to do? So I tried writing a song, and I literally remember where I was sitting on my bed when I wrote my first song, and I ended up writing 7. And I remember thinking, fuck Broadway. Like, I want to do this, which is so
Oh,
funny because I
wow.
feel like in retrospect, Broadway is probably way harder than what we do.
Yeah.
Like, even though what we do is hard, it's like Broadway, you have to like sing amazing, dance amazing, act amazing, like crazy hours every night.
Yeah,
But
like no breaks on Broadway. It's literally like you got the matinee and then a night show. Like you have like maybe
yeah,
one or
like
2
you
days
can't
off.
get drunk after
can't
the show
drink
on Broadway.
And
Not
not
at all.
great.
Zero
pay.
chance.
Not it's hard to get into. Yeah.
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 So I'm happy that I like didn't do
Didn't.
that, I guess.
What did he say when you brought your songs to him? Was he like, oh my God, these
Oh my
are
God,
good?
he was so happy. He was like, these are amazing. Like, you need to be a singer. And like, he introduced me to his friends, who like introduced me to someone else, who ended up introducing me to Jess, one of my first producers. And yeah, the rest was history. And then I started going to open mics, and then I met people, and like, it was just like, I didn't know anyone in the music industry besides my guitar teacher, who wasn't even necessarily like in the music industry. It was like, but he knew people that like were like, doing it.
Right.
So he introduced me to people, and then from there, like, here I am. But yeah, I really did not know what to do at the beginning. I was just like trying to meet as many people as possible, being
So-
like, how do I become
Oh, in
Green
Canada?
Day? How do I become Taylor Swift? Like,
In
I don't know.
Canada or-
Help.
Sorry, in Canada?
Yes, in
Yeah.
Canada. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
And the open mics, you're just rocking up and doing originals or covers?
yeah. Both.
Yeah.
Both. I did like my really shitty originals that, thank God, never saw the light of day. Those were never released, thank goodness. But yeah, that, and then like I would do like Taylor Swift covers, Green Day covers, Gavin DeGraw. It was like really an eclectic taste.
That's
like my
cool.
favorite artists were all so like opposite. I don't know.
I love that. Wait, like I mean, you named some of them there, but like, who were your like idols? Like, who were like, obviously Avril, you said, but like,
yeah. So
if
like
you had to list,
like Green Day, I would say like Green Day and Avril, number one. Green Day probably number one, then Avril maybe. Taylor Swift was huge for me. John Mayer was huge. Gavin DeGraw. I loved like Jason Mraz and James Morrison. Like I was really into the like singer songwriter-y kind of stuff, but then at the same time also like the like Green Day, Weezer, Avril Lavigne. So it was kind of like, which I feel like my music is an amalgamation of like both of those vibes. So
I agree.
Makes sense.
That all makes sense to me now, because I'm like, your music, like people want to say that you're like, I think it's the same with our band. Like people say like pop punk, but like when I hear you, I'm like, you don't sound pop punk.
I don't think I'm pop punk like at all.
And I don't mean
Whenever
that in a
people
bad
call me
way.
that, I'm always like, no,
like,
not
I mean it in the best way.
I just don't think that's my genre. But it's funny because like I put on a plaid skirt and then everyone's like, pop punk.
That's funny.
So after, okay, so let's go back to you did open mics and stuff. So what did you do? Did you like go to university for music or anything, or what was your step?
Not for music. I actually went I went for theater. I like auditioned for this program and I got in, and at the time I was still thinking like, oh, maybe I'll do something in theater, but then I ended up hating it. I thought it was going to be musical theater. It was not. It was like really fucking weird theater. Like we would like stand in a circle and they'd be like, what is this? Like, and someone would do something and then they'd be like, okay, like, what does this make you feel? And then someone would be like, this play made me feel like my body was exiting the souls of the shapes of my earth and my shadow was deflecting on the course of my path. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I was like, I am weird. Like, I'm weird. But this was like next level weird. And I just like was looking around and I was like, exiting the souls of your path. What? And everyone's like, oh, yes, I feel it. And I was like, where am I? And I was like, no offense to theater kids. I am a theater kid. But whatever this shit was, I was like, there's no way that people are feeling like their souls are exiting the earth.
Like, especially if you think you're going for musical theater, you're like, I'm assuming, like because my fiance has done musical theater. I know like what that's like. But then to go and be like, oh, like it's like was it the shit where they'd be like, okay, now like some like scream or something, like like it was just randomly start screaming.
Yeah, and they made us do we had to do all aspects of theater in the first year, and then you could stream out. So I had to do like, we did lighting, we did stagecraft. So I remember I had to like make a wooden box, and I had like an electric saw, and I was like, what the fuck? And I remember trying so hard. I was like, I got this. I'm going to make this box, whatever. And I remember after the final product of making this fucking box, the teacher pulls me aside and he goes, Lauren, I have to say, and if everyone in this class, you're like giving it your all. You're trying the hardest. And I was thinking in my head, sick, I'm gonna get an A+. And I was like, thank you so much, I really am trying. He's like, yeah, which is why it pains me to give you a D, but it's just your he's like, your box is just it's not a box.
He's like, your box is actually this is a you made a triangle
yeah,
somehow.
Yeah. And I was so upset. And I remember also like I worked so hard on this like art project for the art part of it. I remember the teacher wrote something like, this reminds me of a grade 4 art. And I was like, I can't catch a break in this fucking thing. Like I left right after first year. I was like, see you. Like I'm never.
You're like, this isn't working.
Theater is not for me. Yeah. Oh my god.
I was like, I could only try so hard until like my morale has been shot to the ground. I was like,
and then she became a carpenter.
yeah. Then I became a carpenter against all odds. Yeah. But at that time, anyways, I was like, so then the next year I switched into communications, which was like marketing and whatever. But at that time I was already starting to do sessions in Toronto, like songwriting sessions. And my dad, told my parents, I was like, I don't want to be in college anymore. Like, I just want to like be a singer. Like, I want to go to LA. My dad's like, you're getting your degree and then you're going to law school. Like,
oh my God.
And I was like, holy fuck, man. So I would pack a bag and pretend I was going to school, but I would actually go to the studio. Yeah. And that went on for like 2 years or like a year maybe until my parents found out.
Wait, so hold on. Did you were not enrolled in school anymore, but your parents didn't know?
I dropped out.
Oh my God.
And I packed a bag and I pretended that I was going.
Hilarious.
That's pretty epic. Oh
That
my
is
God.
that's very funny. That's very
Yeah, and then I don't even remember how I got caught, but like my dad was so mad at me. Holy shit.
Yeah. I can
But
imagine.
yeah, so I ended up graduating, and here we are. But and then once I graduated, that was when I went to LA and whatever. But
So
yeah.
when you're running off and doing these secret studio sessions, like who were you doing them with, and like how did you meet them? Because a lot of people try and work out, like a lot of our listeners are like, how do you get into that?
Yeah, well, so it was through like my guitar teacher introduced me to this guy who introduced me to another guy, and it was that guy was my producer.
Ben are you
Right.
talking about Ben?
I'm talking about Ben, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I know Ben. Ben's the one that had me come also do
Ah,
her. Yeah,
oh, so
who was also
yeah.
acting as like music director for a little bit for you
Yes,
as
yeah,
well.
he was my music director, my producer, yeah.
And he's well
He's
connected.
helped me skip school,
That's
all of the
amazing.
above.
So he's to blame.
He's to blame for all this.
Yeah, no.
He's all
Sorry,
to blame.
Ben, if
He's
you're
to blame
watching.
for all this success.
Yeah,
um,
he is.
yeah. So basically, yeah. So he had a lot of connections and was just setting you up with like co-writes and stuff. And was he producing everything for you then?
Yeah, him and this other guy, Jordan, were producing for me. Basically, my first song that I ever released, once I released some things, this is in 2018 now. We have this program in Canada called like iHeartRadio Future Star, and it's because they want to make sure that there's Canadian content in Canada on the
Oh,
radio and stuff
So
because
good.
it helps like our economy, I guess, I think.
That is so good.
Um,
Australia does not do that. Well,
I don't
not
think
that-
Yeah,
anywhere
it's-
besides
it's-
Canada, at least not to my knowledge. I know about
No,
this
I-
program, but yeah, it's only
I think
in Canada.
it's just Canada. They're so great. They give money for grants. They give grant money for tour. They give a lot of stuff. But my first song I ever put out, and this had like this like punky guitar, and this is before like in 2018, guitar wasn't on the radio yet. It was like the Chainsmokers were like really big. Like, it was like not
Oh,
the
yeah.
vibe.
Mm.
And my first song ever got chosen for this iHeartRadio Future Star thing. So it got blasted all over the radio. I was in the top 40 right away. And after that, a lot of people were like, "Oh, who's Lolo?" And then like it opened up a lot of opportunities for like people wanted to write with me all of a sudden. People knew who I was. And it was funny because I was like, "Oh, the music industry is so easy. Like first song on the radio, we're good." And then I totally crashed down after that. Once I realized it indeed is not easy at all, and I just got really lucky. But yeah.
So let's talk about pandemic hits, right? And
Yeah.
that obviously like halts the music industry completely. But you seemed to find success during that time, right?
Yeah. So for me, it was like I was just starting out anyways when the pandemic hit. So like I feel like when it hit, it gave me just more time to work on writing songs, and it gave me more time to like figure out what I wanted my sound to be, and also more time to record videos and like put them on TikTok. And I had a TikTok account like so many years before. I don't know why I got one, but I wish I downloaded it. I mean, I downloaded it. I wish I got it earlier and started posting because like I could have been a fucking like Addison Rae. Let's go. But so yeah, it gave me more time to do stuff like that. And I started writing these covers, but I would switch the perspective. So like the first trend was the "Hey There Delilah" trend, where girls would write, "Hey, it's Delilah," and like her point of view.
Oh.
So I did that. And before I did that, I was just dancing on TikTok, and I was getting like 200 views. But then I like put up a singing video and I got like 200,000 views right away. And I was like,
Whoa.
maybe I should be singing on here. Maybe I should be
because
singing
at
on
that
here.
time when you were on it, yeah, it was just at one point it was mostly just dancing,
Yeah.
right? That's what
Yeah,
TikTok
it was a lot of dancing. I'm a terrible dancer, so my videos weren't doing well.
You weren't pulling out
but-
your Shirley Temple moves.
Yeah,
A
I was
time
I was a good tap dancer, but that doesn't translate to like sexiness, sexy groovement. Yeah, like maybe it's actually deters the sexiness because I'm like shuffle ball change. Like that's what I'm used to. But I was really good at tap. I was an advanced tap.
Ooh.
But yeah,
That.
but yeah, actually, funny enough, I used my tap routine. I remember I had this tap routine to "Love Drunk" by Boys Like Girls.
No
that was like
way.
as a kid. Yeah.
Did you ever
Mhm,
tell them
yeah.
that when we were on tour with them?
I posted about it and just hoped that they didn't see. So
Oh
no,
my
I
God.
didn't.
No, I wish you
Yeah.
I wish it would have been amazing if you did it in front of them. That's a TikTok in itself, is it not? Do I not know how to
I
use
know.
TikTok?
Fuck, I should have done that maybe next time. Actually, I'm opening for them again soon in August,
Oh,
just
there
for
you go.
one show.
You got to do it then. Do it then.
I should do it honestly.
So
but
the singing took
yeah.
off then on the TikTok.
Oh
And
yeah.
then-
So then my songs started going viral. People started noticing me, and yeah, from there I ended up getting a publishing deal. I got signed to APG, and then I got out to LA, and then I got my first tour opportunity. It was at the time with Simple Plan and Newfound Glory, and they
Huge.
found me on a Spotify playlist. The
Oh,
tour was
what?
called Pop Punk's Not Dead, and there was a Spotify playlist called Pop Punk's Not Dead, and Chad from Newfound Glory clicked it, supposedly. He was looking through the songs, and one of the songs at the top was Death Wish by LOLO. That's me.
Wow.
And he loved it, and then they asked me to open. And then I was like, that kind of set me on my course of like male groups from when I was a kid that were popular asking me to open for them.
Right.
That like, it's just like, we need a one of three. Who should we ask? LOLO. Like, it's just happened. It's
Yeah.
just like, it keeps
Wow.
happening
Yeah.
for like all these like sick legacy acts. And I don't know how it's happening, but I'm like, sick. You need someone? I'm here. So yeah.
So with the publisher reaches out to you on TikTok because you were doing covers or you were writing originals, or like
So
you were
it
doing
was-
covers and then
It
they
was a
asked.
cover song where I would switch the perspective to make it more depressing. So it was original lyrics, but and I would still keep it rhymed perfectly with the original song, but it was a
Right.
completely
Amazing.
different song. And so
Clever.
my publisher thought that was very impressive songwriting. So he was like, I need you.
And then he put you in writing rooms and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then I met a million people. I did so many writing sessions, still always constantly in LA doing writing sessions just with a bunch of people. And then, yeah.
And then you got signed to Hopeless eventually.
Yeah, so that, sorry, I forgot to say. But yeah, so that was after I went on that tour with Newfound Glory. Newfound Glory at the time was signed to Hopeless. And that was kind of how Hopeless knew who I was, but then that was kind of like sealed the deal. They were like, oh shit, like we need to sign you.
Was it Tobin? Is he your A&R? Or
Yeah, Tobin. I had been meeting with a bunch of different labels, and I met with Tobin for coffee, and he loves this story because he's always like, but I met with him and he like totally sold me. He was just like, he sat across from me and I was like, I'll sign do you have the contract? I'll sign it right now. I was like,
Yeah.
He just totally like convinced me to sign to Hopeless. Like I was like, okay, I'll do whatever this man says. Like,
Yeah, I mean, and Tobin's a wonderful man, and it's a great label. Like that, I feel like that's a
Mhm.
great home for you to be.
So did you
Yeah.
have like 20 songs or 30? I mean, you'd obviously been writing heaps of songs, but your sort of presentation, like when he-
Catalog.
yeah, your catalog when he's looking at you is like, oh, she's got a sound, she's got 20 songs. Like,
yeah, I probably had like,
Probably hundreds.
I
at
had
that time.
almost a full EP out of like my like newer sound, and then I had like, as I said before, like my first song I ever put out got on the radio in Canada, and then after that happened I was like, oh my god, like I'm a radio artist, I need to like put out these pop songs. And so I put out a whole EP of like these pop songs that I find very cringe. I hate thinking about it. I think the lyrics are still like LOLO lyrics, but like just everything about it, I
know
hate
the
it. I
feeling.
want to die. So I don't really count that as my first EP, but so that was out, and then I started putting out this second EP where I have like Death Wish and
right.
what else is on there? Lonely and Pathetic, and like a lot of like my earlier stuff, but that's still like my stuff. So that was out, almost all out, and then I had a few other filler songs during the pandemic. But yeah, like
Right.
I had a bunch of songs out, maybe like 10 solid ones.
Yeah, okay. I always find that interesting, you know, like if for the listeners going, right, how many songs should I have? Should I have a sound? Like all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, and then speaking of, since you apparently hate your old stuff, let's talk about you just recently put out a new album. So
Yes.
and it's called Falling for Robots and Wishing I Was One. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That's right.
Yes. Okay. First and foremost, how long have you had the concept? Because the album artwork, first of all, I want to talk about it's a Wizard of Oz theme. How
Mhm.
long has this been in your head, knowing like that this was your creative direction? Because you at Halloween, I didn't realize this, you guys dressed as Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
October
so that was on
of last
purpose.
year. Yeah, I didn't realize this.
Yes. So in May 2021, I wrote the song "You and the Tin Man," and I was like, "Fuck, I love the song. I think it's one of the best songs I've ever written." Wizard of Oz has always been like one of my favorite movies. Back when I wanted, like, back when my dream was to be on Broadway, the dream was to be Elphaba and Wicked. It was like that's what I wanted to do. So I've always like loved that. And then I decided to write the song "You and the Tin Man." And after I wrote it, I was like, damn, like, I don't want to just throw this out as like a ballad on my EP where no one's going to listen to it. Like, I feel like this should be a single, but it just wasn't at the time in my career where I was like going to release a single as a ballad as a single. I mean, like at the time I was like releasing all these like, pop punk bangers for lack of better words. And I was like on the Simple Plan Newfound Glory tour and I was getting these opportunities and it just wasn't the time to like release something like that. But after I wrote You and the Tin Man, I was like, okay, I really like this. I think it's like one of the best songs I've ever written. I'm just gonna like keep this in my back pocket and like I think this needs to be part of something bigger, like an album one day. And I've always wanted to like put out an album and write a full-length album, but like I didn't want it to just be a collection of songs that I just like shit out. Like I wanted it, I'm such a like a concept person and like a storyteller, and like I wanted it to be like part of something. So I kind of just kept it in my back pocket, and then I was like, still writing, going to sessions, whatever. And then it wasn't until 2 years later where I was sitting on my bed and I wrote the song Wish I Was a Robot. And I was like, this is kind of low-key funny because in this song I'm saying like I wish I was a robot because like I'm too emotional and overly sensitive and whatever, and I feel things too hard. But in my other song, You and the Tin Man, I say like I'm just like basically shitting on this guy for being a fucking robot. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, it's funny that like I hate when guys are like that, but then I kind of wish I was more like that. And then I was like, there's something to this, like the two sides of the coin. And I think that, and then at that exact moment after I wrote Wish I Was a Robot, I wrote into my phone, Falling for Robots and Wishing I Was One. And I was like, I like that title. And I think the whole album could be about like the two sides of the story, like, in terms of like growing up, relationships, all of that, just like meeting people that are like numb and fucked up and you're like, oh, this is ruining my life. And then also like you ruining your own life by being too like sensitive, emotional, like getting your feelings hurt, etc.
Right.
That's cool.
I love the album. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And obviously you've played, I've heard, those few of those songs that you played live when we were on tour together. But the one song I wanted to ask you about, because weirdly, ironically enough, you have a song called Gloria, and our band hasn't put our album out yet, and we have a song called Gloria.
No way.
Heads up.
Yeah, and I was just like, no fucking way. And so I love that song, by the way. I went and listened to it, but I wanted to kind of know the what's the story, the backstory behind that song specifically, because obviously I had a connection to that one because of my own band having a song. I was like, I wonder what her story is. Funny.
Is yours also a ballad?
It's not a ballad.
It sounds exactly the same as
yours.
It's
actually, we put it out and then we're like, so
different vocals, but
Brian's just singing Lolo's song.
Yeah. I would love that, honestly. Yeah, so the backstory is basically, I feel like, it's happened to me a couple times or a few times. So actually the song is based on like a few different instances, but the main thing was I had an instance where I was seeing this guy and he was like, oh, my ex is fucking crazy. And we would like see her out sometimes. And she like, there would be all these altercations and like, and I was like, oh my God, this girl's fucking crazy. Like, holy shit. And then I later found out that he was actually the crazy one. And she was just like, he was playing both of us at the same time. And once I had broken up with him, me and that girl got together. And we're like just like talking and fact checking and date checking everything. And then we realized like we literally were like both being played by this one guy, but he was just like trying to turn us against each other, being like, she's crazy, she's crazy. And when really it was him. And I was like, I feel like that happens a lot. Like I've unfortunately, the first guy I was ever so in love with, like, told me that he had broken up with he was like on and off with his girlfriend. I met him first, but then had a girlfriend, whatever. He was way older than me, but he would tell me that him and his girlfriend broke up and we would hook up, and then he'd be like, never mind, we actually didn't break up. And I'd be like, wait, what? Like, or like I found out after that, and I was like so fucking heartbroken. I was like, well, I remember just like, and it was like my first love, and I was like so young and I like wanted to die, and I was like, why is this happening? Right. But basically I was just reflecting back on like the fact that so many times it's like someone tells you like, oh, they're fucking crazy, they're crazy, when really like they're the crazy one, and you've just, Yeah, so it's basically just a song about how I wasn't being a very girl's girl, or I didn't realize I wasn't being a girl's girl,
Right.
but like it was a song reflecting on like, you shouldn't just like think like, oh, this person is crazy, it could happen, boy, girl, whatever. This person's crazy. Sometimes like you're actually the one being tricked. And so it's basically a sorry to like any person who was the other woman. It's kind of like, I'm sorry, like I guess I was the other woman and I'm sorry about that. And I didn't know, but that's shit. So I thought this is just like a very long-winded response, but I thought it would be cool to write a song in the perspective of like talking to the other girl or the girlfriend if I am the other girl.
Okay. And
saying sorry.
But Gloria was a made-up name. It's not an actual about someone.
It's not an actual name.
Okay.
I went through a few different names actually before I got to Gloria, but I ended up going with Gloria for a number of reasons, but it just rhymed really well with like
that's so
all the other it was almost Samantha, Vanessa, and then almost Victoria, but that was too close for comfort with something else. So it was just
all your Victoria friends are like, what?
I had to make it Gloria.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's funny. That's the same with us. It's a fictional person, but we were just coming up with names, and we also just randomly landed on Gloria. And then there was that 80s song Gloria. You know which one?
Yeah, Gloria.
And so then we were just like, yeah, I mean, this is great. And so we kind of just like almost like used that as our inspiration. But I was just like, when I saw your song, I was just like listening to the album, and I was like, no fucking way, she also has Gloria. Like, it was just
That's
so
funny.
Anyway, so we're kind of coming to an end, but you have a couple big tours coming up. Can you tell us what you're up to for the rest of the year that you can talk about at the moment?
Yes. Okay, so the ones I can talk about. So Jaden Hostler, very excited for that. That's going to be July 4th to 28th.
Nice.
Stoked about that. And then I'm doing Mariana's Trench in November in Canada.
That's so huge.
So huge. And that's another one of those bands that I was like obsessed with as a kid, and now this is like I'm just like, how does this keep happening? It's the weirdest thing. And then we're both doing All Your Friends Fest.
Oh, that's right. I'm playing with Lights in Canada in August. And are you on the same date? We are, right? I hope. I really hope we're on the same day.
I really hope.
Damn,
I'm gonna
that's
look right
gonna be
now,
fun.
actually.
I totally forgot about that because I haven't even thought that far ahead. I always just think about what's coming next. I always forget about it. I'm like, oh yeah, wait, I have that coming. But I'm thinking about Sad Summer right now, which we had done Sad Summer together 2 years ago.
We did Sad Summer. We've toured together a bunch.
We have. We've done a lot of different shows together.
Yeah, we are doing the same day on the 23rd.
Yay! So
I know. I was actually gonna maybe ask you to drum for me that day, and then I was like,
wait, what?
She's. Yeah.
Are you serious? Is Mike busy or something? Yeah. I mean, I'm down.
Yeah, Mike's gone.
What?
He's.
Wait. Okay. So then.
No, he's not gone. No, I'm in his house right now. But he's not my drummer anymore.
Oh, because
he's not my drummer anymore. Okay. He's starting up his other stuff.
Again.
He's not allowed to drum for me anymore.
Oh no.
Well, Jess is available.
Well, hey, let's talk. I'm gonna be there anyways.
Yeah.
True. Amazing. So so at least at the very least I get to see you in August, and then
remember, Jess doesn't drink, so don't offer her a drink.
Yeah, just remember I'm super
my
chill.
God, no, we absolutely won't be drinking.
On my rider,
of course not.
my rider specifically says, please no partying.
Yeah.
That's all it says on my rider.
No pressure to party.
No partying allowed on my specific rider.
That's so funny.
Amazing. Well, okay, so we will tag you and everything. Everyone knows you. It's all your socials are is it at LOLO?
I'm at LOLO on Instagram, but on Twitter and TikTok, I'm at LOLO Pop Girl, like LOLOPOPGURL. It's supposed to be like Lollipop Girl, but everyone was oh, Pop Girl, like pop. And I'm like, no, that's not what it is. It's like a fucking lollipop that you suck on.
So that we cleared that up here, everyone, okay?
You
it's like a fucking lollipop
trigger
that you suck on. She's a trigger.
I talk about this in therapy.
Stop triggering her.
I told them it was Lollipop Girl.
Amazing. Oh my God. All right. Well, everyone go check out her new album. It is absolutely amazing. Check her out on tour coming up with Jaden, all the other shows that she was just talking about there. You're amazing live, so everyone needs to go see you.
Thank you. Announcing more tours in the fall too. I just
Can't
sadly
talk about
can't
it.
say.
That's fair.
I want to say, but I can't.
That's fair. But yeah, thank you again. I'm so happy we finally did this.
Me too.
Thanks so much.
Amazing.
Yay.
All right.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.